What's up, world? What's up, Zion? It's Prince Easy coming at you once again in this fine Sunday that we're having. Of course, I wanna talk about a very peculiar and very particular subject, and I wanna engage with you with this particular subject pertaining to the decisions I have made and I'm making, right? So we have all of these wars, right? We have the Russia war, we have the Iran war, and we have the AES. Okay? So I want to ask a very important question. Yes, indeed, I call it a miscalculation, right? A miscalculation. Why? Because my point has not been the complete destruction of the enemy. Never. I go hard, I pump my brakes. I practice moderation. Okay? So let's just assume, right, that Russia achieves what it presumes to be its ideal situation pertaining to Ukraine, right? Let's take a look at the map real quick. So the Russians say, and I'm paraphrasing from a recent clip I saw of Lavrov pertaining to a freeze to the conflict. And he said that would be some sort of an appreciation or recognition of their forebearers' sacrifices when it comes to fighting Nazism, right? So me personally, what I would like to say, right, and of course all of the views that I express in these videos are my own, right? What would it look like? I mean, really, think about it, right? Because first we have to examine why this German nationalistic movement came to be in the first place. It came to be in the first place because of aggression from other powers, just like the Japanese nationalism, right? And then here comes the bigger question. Did our ancestors win the war against Nazism? Don't be rash, don't be quick. 2026, right? Did our ancestors defeat Nazism? The answer is no. They didn't. They lost the war because they held the belief that they can kill ideas by guns. That's when they lost. So what did the Nazis do? They splintered. Some went to the USSR, some went to the US. The USSR is no more, the US is no more. So I ask again, did they really defeat Nazism? Are weapons of war enough to defeat Nazism? Okay, now let's go back to the map. If it so happens you hold the belief that taking the whole of Ukraine and cleansing it of Nazis is enough, then you are sorely mistaken. Okay? As of now, all of these neighbors of Ukraine are wary of Ukrainians. There's a reason for that. They don't say it out loud because they don't want to offend people, but they're wary of Ukrainians. Right? Last time we covered Poland, talking about an avalanche of produce from Ukraine. That's more like an avalanche of people. So, if you take over Ukraine, what would happen? These Nazi cells will splinter into Belarus, into Poland, into Romania, into Hungary, even some into Russia itself. That's what would happen. And it will be quiet for a while, like a couple 5 years, by my estimation. And then all of their expertise that these operators have gained, all the experience, will be transferred to their cells in all of these countries that they splintered to. This is how it works. Just as they're about to lose, they splinter. The Nazis did the same, and it's not a new thing. In this case, they're gonna do the same. They're gonna splinter into other European nations, the Baltics, Finland, all of them. They're gonna be there with all of that knowledge of war and hatred for losing the war. They're gonna become a bigger problem, because the next time they come around, I guarantee you, Russia will lose. If that happens, Russia will lose. So what is the alternative? I came with a DMZ, establish a DMZ. The other European countries surrounding Ukraine will do the extra containment for their iniquity. And you will also be partaking in that containment. And this idea will die, because under other interests will take over. That's how you win. Right now you have won. Okay? But pushing this further, talking about your ancestors and stuff, no, I want you to be better than your ancestors. I don't want you to make the same mistakes your ancestors made. Because if they did, why are there Nazis now? Do you care to answer that question? Why are they Nazis in America? Why aren't they a problem over there? Because this is not about Nazism. This is about interests. Brothers and sisters, I keep saying this over and over, over and over, over and over. Regardless of what cover it takes, it's all about interests. Hence, I provided the situation where Ukraine benefits from energy moving from Russia going west. Shifting interests. So everything I say has calculation, and if you do the opposite, you will suffer the consequences. Okay, now is that line that I'm talking about. Now is that line. And if you choose to proceed, you'll suffer the consequences down the line. Now talk it among yourselves. Is what I'm saying true? And if not, then time will prove me wrong. But that's what I'm saying will happen. And we all know, I am well aware of how drone for warfare is. So, I'm not the prince of dead people. I'm the prince of people who are alive. Okay? So it's not ideal for Ukraine or the West to achieve what it wants against Russia, because it will do the same thing. Those nationalist Russians will splinter into Europe and they will devastate Europe. Okay? And it's not even in the best interest of Russia to take over Ukraine. That's why I said Ukraine has to exist strategically. But if you think that doing what your ancestors did will ultimately give you peace, then be my guest. Okay? But then we are not aligned. Okay? I will just tell you then that I gave you a warning. I told you that this would happen. And this is happening. So you think it over. Let's move on to another conflict. Iran and Israel. Same situation, same deal. Okay? What would the Middle East look like if Iran destroyed Israel? What would the Middle East look like? Some of you are tempted to say peace. But no, again, that's a miscalculation. Neither side winning, it would be a major problem. A big problem. Okay? Because then they will have nothing to lose when it comes to fighting you. And they will blame the Europeans and they will blame the Arabs. Just endless acts of terror. And you have no way, because the balance of power has been upset. Right? And that, what type of stance are the Europeans supposed to take? Because, believe it or not, those are European civilians. Some of them are Russians. Some of them are coming from Germany. Some of them are coming from Poland. Some are coming from Ukraine. And they have families over there. What would the world look like? So Europe is automatically dragged into the war. But Europe keep making stupid decisions, pushing for Israel to destroy Iran, to upset the power of the Middle East completely. What would the world look like, right? Now we are shifting sides now. right? Because again, going back to the Israelis, what if they lose? They will also splinter into Europe. They will splinter into Europe and push these governments to go back and attack. So the next war will be inevitable in the face of the destruction of the so-called Jewish state. So what happens if the Israelis win and get their way? Well, let's examine a very peculiar case, right? Here we have like real life examples. If the Nazis in Germany splintering into Western countries and into the USSR to dismantle it from within is not enough, then let's look about the real life situation, right? Let's talk about the Lebanese resistance. Somebody shared with me the history of the Lebanese resistance. These people are not Lebanese. They are refugees. Okay? They are refugees from previous wars that quote unquote Israel won. Are you understanding the pattern of events that is happening here? And it's gonna continue, believe me. Okay? It's gonna continue. Okay, so the Lebanese resistance, this is mainly comprised or historically comprised of Palestinians who were chased away by the occupied areas by the Israelis. What did they do? They splintered. They ran away, but their war was still ongoing, right? And even during the period that they were talking about expulsing the people through Egypt, all of these countries were up in arms saying that we are gonna not stand for this. This is unfair. This is a humanitarian crisis, blah, 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 blah. But one of the reasons behind it, because they know for a fact that these people will not stop fighting. Okay, let's go to the map. So just imagine, right? They defeated and destroyed Iran, right? A stabilizing power in the Middle East, believe it or not. Okay, so Yemen will be thrown into chaos. Saudi Arabia will follow. Jordan will follow. Syria will follow. Egypt will follow. Turkey will follow. Lebanon is there. Okay, Syria is there. Iraq is there. Yemen is there, splintered between two groups, launching proxy wars against each other. Okay, so I emphasize my point again and again. There are no winners in war. You have just pushed forward the inevitable, but it is eventually going to come back. It is going to come back. Now the Israelis, the Jewish state, because we can't even call them Israelis, they are not Israelites. The Jewish state, the Zionist state, it's paying for its mistakes that are now compounding. They're always talking about taking the West Bank, this and that. All of those millions of people, they're going to splinter into other nations in the Middle East. And then they're going to launch attacks from there. They're not going to let you rest. No, there's no such thing as that. Hence, what is the alternative? Divide the land. All of you get equal interests when it comes to, I don't know, access to the shore. And whatever is found under the land, you discuss and divide it among yourself. This is simple. People can live peacefully. But if you want to win, then fine. You go ahead, attack Turkey. They're going to splinter. into Europe, and they're going to come back. Attack Syria, it's going to happen the same way. They're going to splinter into Iraq, into Saudi Arabia. Right? So when I say these people who are aligned with Netanyahu and them, they're cooking their own demise right now. I mean, what do they expect? Right? What would the failure of the Iranian state look like? Do you think Pakistan, Afghanistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan is just going to be fine? No. The East and the West and the North, all of them, they're going to be on fire. But what do the Iranians, which I told them not to call this, they are calling this confrontation between them and the Zionists. They are calling it jihad. This is not a jihad. They don't give a damn about your religion. They have interests. So since both of you winning would mean the destruction of both of you, maybe that would be incentive enough for you to have honest conversations, because the world is not going to look like the way you think. Right? This Islam hysteria. So I offer compromises for both sides equally, because I understand and I don't want any sides to get destroyed. Right? But if you continue dragging this on, like I said the last time, why would I want the United States destroyed? Because that will lead to the destruction of Canada. It will be cascading. They will definitely head south. These migrants, people escaping to conflict, starting with Mexico, then Guatemala, all of these regions will be changed forever. Likewise, if these regions stop being independent, it will lead to the demise of the United States. Just like Russia extending its war, right, over a long period of time with many countries, it's going to be a problem. Resources, they're finite, you know. War isn't. Okay, reasons to fight are infinite. Weapons are finite. That's the truth. So there isn't no winning any war. There isn't such thing as winning a war. Right? All of the people that claimed they won World War II, their government collapsed after that. The British government, gone. The USSR, gone. China, gone. What it was, changed forever after the events of World War I and World War II. So no party won. So what is this talk about defeating thine enemies and stuff? That's like I told you. The Israelites are the archetypes of civilizations. The Africans. Their behavior resulted into whatever they got at the end, didn't they? They went around killing people, not making peace, killing. They got killed. They went in and enslaved some people, they got enslaved also. So, again, Let's go to another war, the AES. So what happened to the AES to bring about this problem? Well, you need to look at Libya, you need to look at Nigeria, right? The neighbors. That's a consistent theme, right? So as Nigeria was fighting these terror groups, they splintered into the space as now known as the AES, right? As we know it now as the AES, they splintered into it. And at that time, the Mali and the Niger and the Burkina Faso government, they were asleep. They got invaded. But they woke up. What is happening now? It's a reverse, right? The groups are being defeated in Niger, in Mali and Burkina Faso. They are splintering into neighboring countries. Whomever is willing to accommodate them. That's why you had the statements from Tinubu the other day pointing fingers and stuff. Whose mistake was it? Was it not okay for Saudi Arabia, not Saudi Arabia, you see how I'm confusing subject? Was it not okay for Nigeria to fight terrorism? It was, right? Just as the unintended consequences of these terrorists moving into neighboring countries. The conflict in the Congo is the same thing. How did Uganda and Burundi and Rwanda get dragged into the conflict? Splintering cells. So I call for a compromise. But the Congolese, they seem to have so much hate in their heart that they don't want to listen. They want to destroy the Nyamulenges. They want to destroy everybody. They believe that when we get rid of the whole Nyamulenge thing, it's going to be over. Now we're going to have peace. The Rwandans are going to stop invading us now, you know. Oh really? How long has it been? And again, do we really understand what the winning of this war would look like? Either side, right? There was Alendo and the government, right? M23 and all of this FLA, I don't know if it's even a group, I can't remember. And all of these groups that splintered into Uganda's forests. And they would come into Tanzania, but we have a natural barrier there. A biggest lake. So please, the point of war is to get equal footing. If you want to win, be equal to your enemies. Not above them, not below them. If you are below them, you are seen as weak. If you are above them, you are seen as a bully. Either side, you will lose. Okay? So it goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on, brothers and sisters. That's why I've been calling for all of these neighbors, please work together. If you fight hard enough, maybe these peoples will say, okay, you know what? We want to lay down our arms and stop this back and forth. Because we are not fighting about Muslims, no, we are fighting about interests. Right? We have seen the gold and we want to extract this gold and make wealth for our families and our futures. We can hate on a man for that. So you make peace. And I'm glad, right? I've seen many groups in the AES hand over their arms. Seen many Ukrainians surrender to the Russians. That's why I say this whole thing is freaking pointless. There isn't any victory. There isn't any triumph coming. There's nothing. Just despair and disappointment. And a receipt for death in the near future. So I say again, if Russia destroys Ukraine, Russia is done. If Ukraine destroys Russia, Ukraine is done. The West in general is done. Completely. And America too. And if the Israelis destroy the Palestinians or the Iranians or the Turkeys, they'll be destroyed also. No winning. Too bad, ain't it? So I want people to really think about it. If Russia gets destroyed, Europe and America has no future. And I'm not talking, the bombs are not even going to be they're just going to be the beginning of the trouble. Okay? They're just going to be the beginning of the trouble. Because while they're at it, they might as well destroy China. Because where do you think the Russians are going to go? They're going to go to North Korea, they're going to go to China. What do you think they're going to do over there? Just let you occupy their country? It's up to y'all. We are here. All fronts. All fronts. Russia is vulnerable. Ukraine is extremely vulnerable. Iran is vulnerable. The Israelis and Americans really vulnerable. Equal footing. The side that tips the scale to its favor gets destroyed. That is war. Am I not historically vindicated? All of these great conquerors of the past, right? The Turkish Empire, the Assyrian Empire, the Roman Empire. Did they win? Did they vanquish thine enemy? So, these pipe dreams, be careful of them. And last but not least, the question to the awoken Israelites out there. How do you suppose Esau will cleave to Jacob if you have so much hatred? I don't know why, but I find myself having a ball to pick with everybody. It's crazy. Because people like to hide behind their insecurities. Your insecurities do not define the world. Realities do. Okay? And there ain't no way that this whole world is going to become Christian. Ain't no way. Okay? Like there ain't no way this whole country, this whole world is going to become Hindu or Muslim or any other religion out there. There ain't no way. Because that will be in violation of free will. So now people have to choose peace and negotiate honestly about interests, not hidden agendas, not masks, not whatever. Because what is the alternative? Your own destruction. So who is in control? You think God wants this? You think I was sent here to destroy? But I'm glad. Now I'm having whole conversations with the powers that be. And I suggest you think about it the same way. What would winning look like to you in your own dreams? And then translate those dreams to reality. And you'll find that it is not good. So, I implore you to make some efforts to keep as many people alive. No? Regardless of how you feel about them. Right? These Jewish people, they are not going anywhere. Believe it or not. They are not going anywhere. Regardless of how hard you hate them. The closer you come to destroying them completely, you'll be done by then. To the same level they are. So, let me not go on for long. These are just things I need people to think about, right? Because we have to admit to ourselves, we have successfully changed the power dynamics of the world, and that should be enough. Now we should be working towards making a new one, inclusive of everybody, right? Regardless of their past, you know? So yeah, that's for our own sake. So anyway, I'm gonna put a pin on it right there. It's easy. Love you. Bye.